Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be teaching you how to make the Shelly Butterfly top. Yes, I know there's already a tutorial for it, but this is to correct the mistakes of the previous video and to give better instructions and a better visual demonstration, because the previous video had a dark color and so many people are complaining about not seeing the stitches, and some people are even complaining about the audio. So this is to correct all the mistakes of the previous video. For this demonstration, I'll be demonstrating for a size small to medium. This pattern goes up to XXL, so for large, extra large and 2XL, you'll find the written pattern on my Etsy shop, on my website, coffee shop, Ravelry. So I'll be leaving the links in the description box below. For the materials, I'll be using milk cotton yarn, and I believe I'm going to use two balls of this, and then a pair of scissors and a 4mm crochet hook. For the previous video, I used a 3.75, but I happen not to have it at the moment. But if you have it, you can go for a 3.75. If you don't, then you need a 4mm crochet hook if your stitches are tight. If you stitch loosely, then you're going to go down to a 3.5mm crochet hook. For the yarn choice, if you have Lion brand yarn, it can work. If you have any DK yarn, DK weight yarn, it can work. So let's get started. You're going to grab your hook and your yarn, and you're going to make a slip knot. So the way I make a slip knot, I'm going to cross over my yarn like this to form a ribbon shape, and then insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, but don't let go of this hand, and then yarn over, pull through, and then you're going to pull the tail. So that's a slip knot, and this is what it looks like. Now you're going to make a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you're going to go into the very first chain that you made with a total of 3 double crochets. So that's 1 double crochet. A double crochet is yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And then go into the same space with another double crochet. So we are considering the first chain 3 as one of the double crochets, and that means at the end of this row you should be having a total of 4 double crochets. Now let's go on to row 2. You're going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. Turn your work, and this chain 3 is attached to the very first stitch. So we're going to go into the second stitch, which is this one, and we're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and we've just placed a double crochet into the next stitch, and continue to place 1 double crochet in each stitch. And on top of the chain 3, since it counted as a double crochet, so you're going to go into the top chain of the beginning chain 3, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you'll have a total of 4 double crochets, just like the previous row. So let's do that again. Chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. Turn your work, and we are going to go into the next stitch with a double crochet, and into each of the next stitches. So you should be having a total of 4 double crochets for this row as well. So this marks the end of row 3, and we have placed 1 double crochet in each and every stitch. So we have a total of 4 stitches for each and every row. So let's go on to row 4, and row 4 is going to be something different. You're going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, turn your work, and this time we are making increases. So we're going into the very first stitch, which is this one. So yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch. We are making an increase both at the beginning and at the end, so I'll show you how to do that. Pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So those are 2 stitches attached to the very first stitch, the chain 3 and the double crochet here. Then yarn over, go into the next stitch with a double crochet, yarn over, go into the next stitch with a double crochet, and by now you should be knowing how to make a double crochet. So yarn over, go into the very last stitch, which is the chain 3, into the top chain, and you're going to place a total of 2 double crochets there. So this is 1, and then this is the second one. So this will bring us to a total of 6 double crochets altogether. So let's go on to row 5. You're going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, turn your work, and go into the very first stitch. So we're just repeating the previous row, creating an increase both at the beginning and at the end. So 1 double crochet in each of the middle stitches. So we've already made an increase at the beginning of the row. And then at the end, on top of the chain 3, you're going to place a total of 2 double crochets all in the same stitch. So this will bring us to 8 double crochets total. And then we are going to repeat this one more time. Chain 3. So I'm tapping my laptop because I'm referring to the updated version of the written pattern. So if you want a copy of that, you can purchase that on my website, Ko-fi, Etsy, and Ravelry. They'll be available to purchase. So you're going to chain 3. This is row 6. Chain 3, turn your work, and go into the very first stitch, which is this one, and you're going to place 1 double crochet, and then 1 double crochet in each of the middle stitches. And then into the very last stitch, you're going to place 2 double crochets into the top chain of the chain 3 at the end of the row. So this will bring us to 10 stitches total. And now we're going on to our next row, which is row 7. You're going to chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to make 1 slip stitch into the next 3 stitches. So 1 into the very first stitch, then 1 slip stitch into the next. A slip stitch is insert your hook, pull through all, and that's it. We have a total of 3 slip stitches, and then you're going to make a chain of 3 and go into each of the next 4 stitches with a total of 1 double crochet into each. So let's do that. Go into the next stitch with 1 double crochet, go into the next with 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet into the next, and 1 double crochet into the next. So that will bring us to 5 double crochets, including the chain 3 that counts as a stitch. So we have the chain 3 here, then 1, 2, 3, and 4, which makes a total of 5 double crochets. Then you're going to make a chain of 3. This is row 8. Turn your work, 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So we don't place a double crochet into the first stitch because we are not making any increases. Our first double crochet is going to go into the next stitch, and then continue to double crochet into each and every stitch across. And on top of the chain 3, and at the end you're going to place 1 double crochet into it. All right, so we're going to make a chain at this point. We are done with the middle section, or the middle body of the butterfly, and we are going to make a chain of 150. So continue to make your chain of 150. So you're going to grab your pair of scissors and you're going to cut your yarn and then pull through this last loop of the very last chain. This is what you should have. And now we're going to create our second strap. So you're going to start off with a slip knot. I hope you still remember how to make a slip knot. And then you're going to make a chain of 150 separately. So when you have your 150 chains separately, you're going to go into this corner here that doesn't have a strap, and you're going to attach your yarn into the top chain of the chain 3 here. Just insert your hook, pull through all. So that means we've attached with a slip stitch. Now you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Make sure I don't miss it. That second stitch there, make a slip stitch, chain 5, and slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. So we don't count this one. We count 1, and into the second, we're going to place 1 slip stitch. Insert your hook, pull through all, and continue to slip stitch into each and every chain downwards. So once you place a slip stitch into the very last chain, you're going to go into the next stitch with a slip stitch, the stitch on the body of the butterfly, so here, and then 1 slip stitch into the next stitch. Then you're going to make a chain of 5. Go into the second chain from the hook, this one, and insert your hook, pull through. That's a slip stitch, and continue to slip stitch all the way back to the body of the butterfly. Okay, so we've just placed our very last slip stitch into the last chain here, and we're going to make 1 last slip stitch into the very last stitch of the body of the butterfly. So here you're going to make 1 slip stitch there, and you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. We shall weave in our ends later on, but for now you're going to pull through and fasten off. So this will create the antenna of the butterfly, and then this will create the 2 straps that are going to be tied around the back of your neck. And then this is the middle body of the butterfly, as you can see here. So let's move on to the wings of the butterfly. Okay guys, so I'm going to switch hooks. It's still a 4mm, but I'm having a challenge with this because it has a rough edge, so it's kind of pinching my yarn. So I'll switch to another hook. This is still new, so I don't know much about it, but I'm very sure this will work perfectly fine. So don't switch to another size. If you see this green, it's still the same exact size. So for the wings, you're going to start off with a slip knot. Hope you still remember how to do it. This is how I do my slip knot each and every day. So we're going to attach our yarn. You see this corner here, this pointed corner. We're going to insert our hook in there and attach our yarn like that. Now we are going to make a chain of 3, and this counts as a double crochet. And into this double crochet space, you see that space of row 6, you're going to place a total of 5 double crochets into that space. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that means we shall have a total of 6 double crochets, including the chain 3 at the beginning of the row. Then you're going to go into the next row, which is row 5 here, and we are going to place a total of 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like that. And you're going to chain 1. Now you're going to go into the next row, which is row 4, and you're going to place a total of 7 double crochets, all in the same row. So those are 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So your work will start getting bunched up, but it will become flat later on. This is nothing to worry about. So in the written pattern, I have different alternatives for different sizes. This I'm demonstrating for a size small to medium. And for other sizes, you'll have to do something else. I indicated it in the pattern. So let's go on to row 2. You're going to chain 3. Turn your work, and we are going to work a shell into the next stitch. So into the second stitch, not this one that's attached to the chain 3. You're going to place a shell into the next stitch, which is the second stitch. You're going to go in there with 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets, all in the same stitch. And then for the next stitch, which is this one, you're going to go below and you're going to place a front post double crochet. So for a front post, you prepare for a double crochet as usual, and you are going to go down. You're not going to go into the stitch like we've been doing before. You're going to go down and wrap your hook around the stitch, around the post of the stitch, and then work your double crochet as usual. That will create our front post double crochet. And then into the next stitch, remember this one has gotten a front post, so the next stitch is this one, not this one that has gotten the front post. Keep in mind, go into the next stitch with 1 shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets, which is a shell. And then into the next stitch, you're going to prepare for a double crochet and then work 1 front post double crochet into the next stitch. So prepare for a double crochet, and this is the stitch we are talking about. You're going to wrap your hook around the back of the post of the stitch like that. So it's like we are pushing the stitch upwards, and this is going to start creating ridges in between the shells, and then complete your double crochet as usual. After this, you're going to place a shell into the next stitch, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets, all in the same stitch. like that. And then this is the very last double crochet before the chain one space, as you can see. So I think at this point I will use a stitch marker just to indicate where the chain one space is. So I've placed my stitch marker into the chain one space, and whenever you get to this point, you place one normal double crochet into the stitch before the chain one space, and then chain one, remove your stitch marker, and go into the next double crochet after the chain one space and place one double crochet, and then place your stitch marker back into the chain one space. Then from here you're going to make one shell into the next stitch, so 2 double crochets, chain one, 2 double crochets into the same stitch, and then into the next stitch you're going to place a front post double crochet. So I hope you still remember how to do that. Go into the next stitch with a shell, so 2 double crochets, chain one, and 2 more double crochets, go into the next stitch with a front post double crochet, a shell into the next stitch, front post double crochet into the next stitch, one shell into the next stitch. So your work will continue to bunch up and become overcrowded. This is because there are so many stitches involved at this point, and this is what we have. So go into the next stitch with one front post double crochet, one shell into the second last stitch, so 2 double crochets, chain one, 2 more double crochets into that stitch. And now we've come to the end of the row and we have the chain 3. Now you're going to prepare for a double crochet and go on top of that chain 3 into the top chain, and you're going to place 1 double crochet into it, 1 normal double crochet. This time we're not going to make a front post. So there are a few things that I need you to realize. This is the upper part of our butterfly because of the location of the antenna. So that means this is the upper. So the place that separates the lower wing from the upper wing is this stitch marker here, the chain one space. So you should be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shells for the upper wing and 1, 2, 3 shells for the lower wing. It will vary. For the bigger sizes it will be different for the upper wing and the lower wing, because the wing has to become wider to create more coverage, but this is for size small to medium. So when you're reading the pattern you will have to note these points because this will differ from size to size. The pattern is written for size small to medium, large to extra large, and then XXL. So for the other 2 sizes the instructions will change for you. Let's go on to row 3 of the wing. You're going to chain 3, turn your work, place 1 shell into the chain 1 space of the next shell. So this is the very first shell, and into the chain 1 space you're going to place a shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets into that very first shell. So the shells are placed in the shells below. Then from here we have a double crochet. On this side we worked a front post double crochet, and this side, when we are working this row 3, we are going to work a back post double crochet. Watch what I'm doing. you're going to prepare for a double crochet and then go into the back post. So around that double crochet, but from the back this time. Remember last time we were doing this and pushing it to the front, but this time we want to go around it and push it to the back so that the ridges are facing one direction. For example, this is a demonstration. You want your ridges to be on one side, and this is the line that we are creating. Those are the ridges that I'm talking about, and on this side we don't have them. This is just a plain surface, and the ridges are always on the right side of the work. So at this point we have already determined which side is our front side, and it's this one where the ridges are popping on the outside of the surface. So let's do that. Prepare for a double crochet, go into the back and grab that post and work your double crochet as usual. So that's a back post double crochet. Then go into the next shell with a shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. I'll let you know when the shell is going to change, because for now a shell is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, but we shall reach a point when that doesn't apply and the shell is going to change to something else. So prepare for a double crochet and work a back post double crochet into the next standalone double crochet, and then work a shell into the next shell. So at this point we have already determined where to place our stitches. You know exactly where to place the shell, and we know exactly where to place the back post or the front post double crochets. So back post, and then place a shell into the next, and then back post double crochet into the next stitch around the post, as you can see here, and then 1 shell into the next shell, and now we've reached we're almost reaching the stitch marker. So we're going to just go into, we're going to skip over the 2 stitches of the shell below and go right into the double crochet right before the chain 1 space, and you're going to place 1 double crochet there, 1 normal double crochet, and then remove the stitch marker, chain 1, 1 double crochet into the next double crochet, which is the very first double crochet of the lower wing, and then replace the stitch marker. So you should notice that the number of shells has remained the same, the number of shells of the upper wing. So this is the upper wing. For the size small to medium, the upper wing has a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 shells for the upper wing and 3 shells for the lower wing. So let's go ahead and finish up row 3. You're going to place a shell into the next shell, one back post double crochet into the previous row like that, and then 1 shell into the next shell, then 1 back post double crochet, and then 1 shell into the very last shell, and then 1 normal double crochet into the very last stitch of row 2. So on top of the chain 3, you're going to place 1 double crochet, and that marks the end of row 3 of the wing. So row 4, you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, The chain of 3 counts as a double crochet, and this is what you should have for now. You can see the ridges are popping on this side, and after your chain of 3, you're going to keep working this pattern. So for now, we already know where to place the shells, so place a shell into the very first shell. After creating a shell here, you're going to go into the next post and create a front post double crochet this time. I hope you've seen how I've done it. I'll show you on this one. Place a shell into the chain 1 space of the next shell. And then create a front post double crochet. We are creating a front post double crochet because on this side the posts should be popping on the upper side of the top surface. So we are creating a front post so that the ridges can stay on the upper side. So after this, you're going to create a shell into the next shell. And now we are almost reaching the stitch marker, and you're going to create a double crochet in the very last double crochet before the stitch marker. And then you're going to chain 1, remove the stitch marker, and double crochet into the very first double crochet of the upper wing. Replace the stitch marker there. So remember, this is the lower wing. The smaller one is the lower wing, and you can also tell by seeing the bottom of the butterfly body to tell which one is the upper wing and the lower wing. So after this, you're going to just continue with the pattern, placing a shell into each shell and a front post into each post in the middle of the shells. Just watch what I'm doing, and I guess you'll get it right. So I'm placing a shell into the very last shell, and then I'll skip the last 2 stitches and go on top of the very last chain 3, and I'll place a double crochet there. So this is what we have, and at this point I think we've grasped the pattern. The even rows are the ones that have front post double crochets in the mid of the shells, and then the odd rows, for example row 5, as we are going to see, will have back post double crochets in order to push the ridge on one side. So row 5, you're going to chain 3. Row 5 is basically going to be the same as row 3. So chain 3, place a shell into the first shell, and then 1 back post double crochet into the ridge. So you just place 1 back post and then a shell into the next. So we are basically going to repeat rows 3 and 4 until we have a total of 6 rows, because that's the size that I'm demonstrating for my tutorial. For the other sizes, you'll find the instructions in the written pattern. So just repeat rows 3 and 4. I'll be leaving the timestamps for you in the description so that it's easy for you to go back and forth between the rows. So I'm going to go ahead and work my 6 rows total for the wing, and I'll be back to show you what to do next. I am making my very last stitch of my row 6. Follow the pattern and find out how many rows that you need for your size. And from here, we're going to do something different. The shells change, and we're going to start working on one wing at a time. So let's go on to row 7. You're going to chain 3, turn your work, and we're going to go into the first shell. This time a shell is 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets, all in the same shell, as you can see here. After this, you're going to make a back post double crochet into the ridge because we are on the wrong side of the work. And then we're going to make another shell. From now onwards, a shell is 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets. And we're going to keep working this until we get to our stitch marker. So I'm placing my very last shell into the last shell of the upper wing. As you can see, we are on this side that has more shells than the lower side. So we're on the upper wing, and then we're going to place 1 double crochet into the very last double crochet before the stitch marker. So you're going to place 1 double crochet there, and we're going to remove the stitch marker this time. I don't think we need it. You can leave it there, but for now we are omitting the lower wing. We're going to first work on the upper wing. So let's go on to row 8. Row 8, you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, and we are going to work as usual. The only difference is now the shell is 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets. That's the only thing that you have to note. And the difference is now we are working only the upper wing. Front post double crochet, 1 shell into the next shell, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets, 1 front post double crochet, and repeat that all the way across until you get to the end of the row. So we're coming to the end of row 8, and I'm placing my very last shell, and then I'll skip the last 3 double crochets and go on top of the chain 3, and you're going to place a double crochet. Now we're going to keep alternating between rows 7 and 8. This was row 7 and this was row 8. So keep alternating between the 2 rows. Continue to alternate between rows 7 and 8 until I had a total of 13 rows, and that brought me to the base of my upper wing. So do whatever number is mentioned for your size. From the very beginning here up to here, I have a total of 13 rows. Now let's go on to row 14. You're going to chain 3. We're going to switch it up a little bit because you're going to start creating decreases, because now we are done creating the side coverage. Now from here, you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and then work 4 double crochets into the very first shell. This time we're not going to work a shell in there, so just work a total of 4 double crochets, and then go onto the front post, double crochet with a front post, and then you're going to make a shell into the next. So remember, a shell is 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets, and then you're going to make 1 front post double crochet into the next, then a shell into the next, and you're just going to repeat our row, continuing with the pattern as usual, and then front post. So you can see what the ridges I've created. So now I'm placing my very last shell into the last shell of the previous row. Like that. And then I'll place my last double crochet on top of the very last chain 3 of the previous row. So this is what we have for row 14. Now row 15, you're going to chain 3 and turn, place a shell into the very first shell, and then 1 back post double crochet into the ridge, and then a shell into the next shell, one back post into the next ridge, a shell into the next shell, back post, shell into the next shell, so you're going to repeat this until you get to the one that's not a shell. Remember, here we placed only 4 double crochets, and once you place your last shell into the full shell here, you're going to prepare for a double crochet and go into what would have been a back post. You're just going to go on top of the stitch and place a normal double crochet, and that marks the end of this row. And this is row 14. Sorry, this is row 15. So row 14 is the one that had the 4 double crochets into the very first shell. So this is row 15. Row 16, you're going to chain 3, turn, and you're going to repeat row 14. So 4 double crochets into the very first shell, and from here you're going to just continue with your pattern as usual. With a shell and then front post, shell, front post until the end of the row. And don't forget that at the end of the row we always place a normal double crochet, not a front post. So a normal double crochet into the top of the chain 3 of the previous row. So this is what we have, and you can see we've started creating those bumps on the edge of the butterfly wing. So row 17, you're going to chain 3 and turn, and you're going to repeat row 15. So just place a shell into each shell and a back post double crochet into the ridge. So as we work these decreases, you'll notice that the number of shells on the upper wing keeps decreasing automatically. The shells keep decreasing. So for example, we have 3 shells at the moment. Remember there were 5 in the beginning. So after this, you're going to place 1 double crochet into what would have gotten a back post right before the 4 double crochets here. Then you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and this is row 18. You're going to place 4 double crochets into the very first shell, and we're going to keep alternating between rows 14 and 15 until we run out of shells. So just keep alternating between those 2 rows, and I'll be back to show you what I'll have. For now, this is what we have, and you can see it's very uniform, and we're going to keep creating those scallops until we run out of shells. So I'm currently on row 20, and I'm chaining 3 and turning, and as you can see, for now I have only 1 shell left. This is row 21. And I'm placing my last double crochet here, then chain 3, turn. This is row 22, and I'm placing a total of 4 double crochets, as you can see here. From here, you're going to place 1 double crochet into the very last stitch here, and you're going to place 1 double crochet, and from here you're going to make a chain. So I'm going to make one of those chains that I really love for my straps, something a bit more sturdy. I have a detailed video of how to make this strap, so if you would like to check it out, I'll be linking it on the screen for you guys to go and see the detailed video. So what I do is chain 3 double crochet into the space, that's 1 segment, chain 3 double crochet into the middle part of these 2 stitches, and then continue to do that until you have a total of 50 segments for your strap. So the segments are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to continue until I have a total of 50 of them, 50 segments. After your strap, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn, leaving a strand behind. Now we're going onto the lower wing. As you can see here, the upper wing is finished. You're going to grab your yarn and your hook, and you're going to make a slip knot. You're going to reattach your yarn on the lower wing. So just turn your work around, and you're going to attach it into the very first stitch of the lower wing, right after the chain 1 space here, into that stitch. Now you're going to attach your yarn. You're going to chain 3 and work a shell on top of the previous shell, but this time a shell is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. And then since we are on the wrong side, the ridge gets a back post, and then 1 shell into the next shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets, back post double crochet, and then 1 shell into the very last shell. And after this, you're going to go on top of the last stitch of the previous row, and you're going to place a double crochet there. For the bigger sizes, this will differ. Your shells will be more than this. Just work a shell into each shell and then a back post all the way across. Now we're going to start creating decreases. So the next row, which is this was row 7 of the lower wing, and now we're going to create row 8 of the lower wing. You're going to chain 3 and you're going to place only 3 double crochets into the very first shell. After this, you're going to place a front post double crochet into the ridge, and then a shell into the next. Sorry, a shell this time is 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. Don't forget that. And then a front post. And then you're going to just continue. If you have more shells, just continue placing the shells in the middle of the ridges, and then also creating the ridges respectively until you get to the very last shell. So for the last shell, we are going to place a total of 3 double crochets, and then 1 last double crochet into the last stitch of the previous row. So what we are doing here is decreasing on both sides, both the upper end of the lower wing and the downer end. So let's go on to row 3 of the extension, or row 9 of the lower wing. So you're going to chain 3, turn your work, skip over the shell decrease, which is this one, the 3 double crochets, and work a back post double crochet into the ridge. So just skip this, and since we're on the wrong side, you're going to place 1 back post double crochet into the ridge, and then continue to place a shell in the shell below. If you have more shells, just continue working the shells and back post double crochets until you get to the last 3 double crochets of the row. You're going to skip over them and go into the very last stitch with 1 double crochet. And right now we have only 1 shell left. So let's go on to the next row. You're going to chain 3, turn your work. Now we're going to work a shell on top of the previous shell. So just work 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. So if you have more shells here, you're just going to repeat the pattern until you have only 1 shell left, and then you'll jump onto this row. So after this 1 shell, you're going to go into the last stitch of the previous row, and you're going to place 1 double crochet, and this is what it will create. Now for the next row, you're going to chain 3 and turn your work, skip over the shell here, and you're going to place 1 double crochet into the very last stitch, like that. And this marks the end of the lower wing. You can chain 1 and cut your yarn at this point. And at this point, we are done with one of the sides of the butterfly. This is what you should have. You can see the lower wing has closed up. We've closed it up to 1 main tip, and then the upper wing spreads out to create coverage for the bust area. Now let's go on to the second wing. The second wing is going to be quite different from the first wing in terms of construction, because we need the front side, which has the ridges, to face up so that we have a balanced top. So let's see what we have here. I'm just going to walk you through the beginning stages of this top, and you'll carry on later on. You're going to attach your yarn on top of that corner of row 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You remember that corner where we attached our very first wing when we were starting working the wings. You're going to attach your yarn there, and you're going to make a chain of 3. We are back to the row 1 of the wing. So after a chain of 3 into this row 6, you're going to place a total of 5 double crochets, like that, and then 5 double crochets into row 5 of the body of the butterfly. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you worked a different size from the pattern, make sure you balance exactly what you did on this side onto the opposite side. So that applies to the bigger sizes. Make sure you make the same number of stitches that you had for your first wing. So after this, you're going to chain 1, go into the next row, which is row 4, and you're going to place a total of 7 double crochets all in the same row. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So this will be the upper wing basing on the direction of the antenna, and then this will be the lower wing basing on the tail. And then also the upper wing has more stitches than the lower wing. So let's go on to row 2. You're going to chain 3, turn your work, and now the wing that we have worked is going to determine how we work our row 2. So when you turn your work, since we are on the wrong side of the work, and the wrong side always gets back post double crochets, we're going to start creating our shells and our post double crochets, because at this point you don't know which one to place. But since this is already giving us direction, we already know that this is going to be a back post. So remember, for row 2 of the first wing, we were creating front post double crochets, but this time row 2 of the second wing will be back post double crochets, because we want the posts to face the same direction. So I hope I'm explaining it right. After your chain of 3, you're going to place 1 shell into the next stitch. So that is 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets. And since we're on the wrong side, we're going to create a back post double crochet into the next stitch. So you wrap your hook around the post of the next stitch, pushing it to the back, and create a back post double crochet. After this, make a shell into the next stitch. 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets, and then a back post double crochet for the next stitch. Watch what I'm doing. Prepare for a double crochet, go around the next stitch, the post of the next stitch. So it's this one that we are dealing with at the moment. So you just go around the post, pushing it to the back, creating a back post double crochet, and then place a shell into the next stitch. And then we can move the stitch marker from this side to the chain 1 space of this side. And you know exactly what that stitch marker is going to help us do. It's going to help us separate the upper wing from the lower wing. So after this, you're going to place 1 double crochet into that double crochet before the the stitch marker or the chain 1 space. So you're going to place 1 double crochet in there, and then you're going to chain 1, remove the stitch marker, skip over the chain 1 space, and place 1 double crochet into the next, and then replace the stitch marker into the chain 1 space like that. And you're going to make a shell into the next stitch, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, then back post double crochet into the next stitch, and then a shell into the next, back post double crochet into the next stitch, 1 shell into the next, one back post double crochet into the next stitch, shell into the next, back post double crochet into the next, 1 shell into the second last, and then 1 last double crochet into the last stitch of the previous row. So a normal double crochet, just insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then complete your double crochet. And this is what you'll have remember what we had at this point of the very first wing, and I told you not to worry because it will flatten out. This is what we got later on. So once you see this happening for your second wing, don't get worried, because after working everything and spreading out the wing, it will become a flat garment. So let's go on to row 3, chain 3 and turn your work. And you're going to place a shell into the very first shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. And now that we are on the right side, we can tell by seeing the ridges on the right side, and that's the side that we are working right now. We're going to go into the ridge and create a front post double crochet, and then place a shell into the next shell. So the moment you determine where your shells are supposed to face and where the ridges are supposed to be located, you're going to just rewind this video to the very first wing. And one thing that you have to note is, for the first wing, every time they mention front post double crochet, you have to replace it with a back post double crochet. And every time where a back post double crochet is mentioned, you're going to make sure you replace it with a front post double crochet. So it's just that change, that little change that is applied to the second wing, so that we get a balanced butterfly look. So just go ahead, rewind this video to the very first wing and apply the same exact instructions, replacing back post with front post and front post with back post everywhere that the 2 stitches are mentioned. Just do the opposite, and then you'll be able to achieve this wing. I'm going to go ahead and work this off camera because this video is going to get way longer than it already is, and I'll be back to show you the final result. Alright guys, so I'm done with my second upper wing, and this is what we have currently. So we're going to attach our yarn onto the lower wing, and we are going to do the same exact instructions that I gave for the second upper wing. So just attach your yarn onto the very first stitch of the lower wing and repeat the same exact process. If you placed a front post for this wing, you're going to place a back post double crochet and vice versa. So I had to come back here and clarify a few things because some people might get a little bit confused. So whenever I said back post on the first lower wing, you're going to place a front post and vice versa. So let me just get off camera and finish up this wing. So guys, we are finally through with both wings, both the left and the right wing, and both the top and the lower wings. So this is what we have in the end. And the other thing that I want you to do is to get a strand. At this point you can try on your top, but definitely it's going to be very open in the middle section, as you can see here. So you're going to get a short strand. As you can see, I have a short strand of yarn here, and I'm going to join the middle section of the upper wing. So you're going to turn your work onto the wrong side, and we're going to gather some rows together. You're going to get the very first row of the upper wing, making sure that the body of the butterfly, the middle body, is on the right side of the work. It's below here, not on top. So you're going to attach your yarn, and you're going to make 2 single crochets into that very first row of the upper wing, and continue to single crochet 2 times into each and every row for a total of about 4 to 6 rows. So for this sample, I'll do a total of maybe 5 or 6. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll do a total of 5 rows, and then in the 6th one, I'll place 1 single crochet and then chain 1 and cut. So you're going to close up to that point where it's very comfortable for you to wear, and you can see what this has created. It's creating more coverage when it comes to the middle section so that it's not so open as opposed to what we had before. And then remember, the body of the butterfly should be on top here on the right side, and when you stretch out your top so that it fits you, the body of the butterfly will also be like this. And these are the 2 strands that are going to go behind your neck, the chain of 150. You'll tie this behind your neck, and then I'm going to show you how to strap your wings at the back. So we have these thick straps that we created, and you're going to get this one on this side and pass it through the bottom hole on the edge of the opposite wing, on the bottom edge, and then get this one on this side and do the same on this side. And this is what we have, guys. We shall create an X at the back, and these ones will meet up to tie below your rib cage like that. And then when we turn our top to the right side, we shall have something that looks like this. I'll be attaching some photos of some of the people who have tried this design and really nailed it and gave me feedback about the fitting of the top. And yeah, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. This is how the lower wings look like. So don't forget to purchase a copy of the written pattern if you would like to alter this design to different sizes. And I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope I was able to rectify the mistakes and the problems that the first tutorial had. And yeah, this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.